welcome to my channel. This is Jadwiga, your fairy tale teller. I'm going to tell you a little story from China. Once upon a time, there was a farmer and his wife and his children, and they lived very happily together. Until one day, the wife was just getting some water from the well in the middle of the village when the Chun, the military Chun, came along and saw how beautiful she was. And immediately he said, "I need her, I want her." And he told his guys to grab her and bring her with him. The children were upset. The farmer's heart broke, and it was terrible for all of them. But since this Chun was so mighty and so powerful and so cruel, nobody dared to say anything against him. And so they just suffered. Next day, the farmer found his wife dead on the field. And he wrapped her into a mat, carried her home, and buried her the same day. But the children could not stop crying, and they would not let their father go, so he wasn't even able to go on his field and do his work, because the children needed him so much. And one night it knocked on their door, and outside stood an old man with a long grey beard and old, very old clothes on. But he had warm and loving eyes. And he said, "What happened? Why are the children crying so terribly? This is awful. What has happened to you?" And the farmer asked him in and told him his story. "Oh, that's it," said the old man. And he took a piece of paper and a paintbrush and asked, "How did she look like, your wife?" "Oh, she was the most beautiful woman on earth." And he described her. He described her with every tiny single detail, and he didn't forget anything from head to toe. And after he had finished his description, the old man turned the piece of paper around and asked, "Did she look like that?" And the farmer and the kids, they were surprised, and they said, "That's our mom, that's mother." And the old man just turned the paper again, and on the back side drew a tiger. And then he handed that paper out to the farmer and said, "Just hang it on the wall." And he was disappeared. So they looked at that painting, and they couldn't believe it, because this was their mother. This was really their mother, and the children were happy, and they talked to her, and even the farmer, he became lighter and happier, even though he did not believe that this piece of paper was his wife. But then he said, "What is that? Her eyes moved? Did I see that right?" And then she smiled. She laughed. She jumped out of that paper. She embraced her children. She embraced her husband, and then said, "Why do you stare at me? We know each other long enough, so you have looked on me so many years. What's the matter?" And he said, I thought you were dead. Aren't you dead?" "Do I look dead?" she asked. "I feel pretty much alive." And so they were happily reunited again. But of course they were always in fear of that Chun. And it didn't take long until the message that this woman, that he had killed himself, was alive. And he couldn't believe it. But he said, "I will prove that. And if she's alive, well, I will kill her again." And just as he approached the house of the farmer and his family, They had just sat down for dinner, and when they saw him coming with his cruel guys, and the farmer started shaking from fear. But the woman simply said, "Give me that piece of paper." And she held it into the fire, and the paper burst, and out came a tiger that grabbed the Chan, took him to the forest, and his guys ran behind him because they were afraid. And from now, the farmer and his family really lived in love and peace and did not have to fear the Chan anymore because he was never seen again. Yeah. Also in China, there are stories about cruelty and murder and envy and terrible people who did not care about right or wrong. But also in China, the stories end up that the evil cannot survive. The evil is always destroyed. And the good people, they end up happily, most of the time rich, but in this case, just happy. And I guess that's more than they could wish for after what they had gone through. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumb. Thank you very much.